Before we begin, thank you very much to Robin S. for joining my Patreon campaign. Thank you so much for the support. I do appreciate it immensely. Speaking of support, I guess I should not doubt you people anymore. Because, wow. So, remember how I was almost caught up and I'd said that there's no way that this daily streak is going to continue? I now have shoutouts due for the next 2.5 weeks, which means not only are we over the mark for Transformers Prime, and that will unlock on April 1st if we're still there, I am facing a very real possibility of having to do more than one shoutout per video just to keep up. But it's a wonderful problem to have. I do appreciate everything you guys are doing for me. So, today we are exploring what was technically what people think of as the very first Transformers toy, the original Optimus Prime. This is a classic mold, not only because it is the first major big Optimus Prime toy, obviously, but also it's one of the most prolific molds in all of Transformers, reused and reissued so many times, potentially more reissues than any other Transformer toy from the original toy line. Or any toy line, for that matter. So, TF Wiki lists it as a bajillion reissues, but I'm going to pare it down for you. So today we're going to be looking at every time they reused the G1 Optimus Prime mold, and we're going to, of course, start with where it started, the original release of Optimus Prime. Naturally, it is an adaptation of the Diaclone Convoy figure, a name that it retained in the Japanese version. It's the classic figure, right? So this is our baseline, right? This is our baseline for Optimus Prime, all right? So everyone keep that in mind? Good. Because this is we're not even beginning, but this is where it's going to get weird. So even though this is the first figure from 1984, there are still tons of variations available for this figure. You're going to have different colors in certain parts, like the missiles and even roller. You're going to have modifications to the hands so that Prime can actually hold his weapon straight. His weapon is going to have thin and thick barrel versions. His gas nozzle is going to have two completely different designs. And even like some releases even have modified wheel hubs on top of that. And this is just in normal reissue, like normal versions of the toy, just constant running changes they were making. Keep in mind, this toy was released in both America, Japan, and across the world for at least 2 years due to its popularity. I'm not going to document every single change, but suffice to say it's a lot, including, in some European countries, red feet. Why? Because those are the die-cast parts right along with the chest, and sometimes it's cheaper to just paint all of the die-cast one color instead of having to pay for a second process to get the feet to be blue. At least that's my speculation. This makes sense to me. So, let's move on to the original variation of Optimus Prime. That would be the Pepsi release. So, if you got this one, they came with a little pamphlet that will let you stick the Pepsi logo right on the side of the truck. Not a terribly exciting thing, but it was a promotional piece they did. However, if you were in Canada when this came out, the sticker went across the entire side of the trailer. So instead of just becoming part of it, it basically just made his trailer look like the Pepsi trucks from the day. It's one of the more infamous Optimus Primes, just because it's one of the first times they did something weird with him. And it's not the only time that the Pepsi Corporation is going to come up on this list. This was a 1985 release, by the way. We're going to be jumping around, so we'll be talking about some things early, some things later. Right now, we're in this period of international Optimus Prime releases, and then once we get through those, we'll go into the Japanese. Speaking of international, in 1990, if you lived in Europe, you could get your hands on a Transformer Classic before the 2006 Classics line, Optimus Prime, that was just a straight reissue, but it was in that late G1 gold box style. So a little bit of a variation for you in packaging, but not the toy itself. Moving on to 1993, that was America's first chance to get Optimus Prime again in Generation 2. Obvious deco changes going on here. He is using notably darker colors, and I don't just mean the black, I mean the blue as well. And then, of course, he comes with new missile launchers, lots of new stickering. He's not really disguised anymore. His big name all across the side of the truck. But the fun part was the sound box, which could not only attach to his back, but the front of the trailer as well, which included some blast sound effects and him famously shouting, "I am Optimus Prime." Wasn't Peter Cullen's voice. Wasn't a big get at the time to do that. Next reissue here in America, you had to go to the commemorative edition. That was in 2002. And this one had a lot of safety changes, which included the extra long missiles for the trailer, as well as the cut smokestacks that became an infamous sign of a modern G1 Optimus Prime toy. Now, this one does technically have a reissue in 2012 that includes a remold from a future figure we're going to talk about later. Suffice to say, it seemed like Hasbro started combining parts of the normal reissue with the newest version out of Takara, which just happened to have a modification to its trailer hitch. Weird, I know, but that's how it goes. We'll talk about that one here in a bit. In 2008, the Universe line had its own reissue of Optimus Prime. This one fairly similar to all the others. It had all the U.S. safety laws, a few more pale color schemes. If you got it in the U.S., it also came with a DVD with the first 3 episodes on it. Came with a reprint of the original Transformers comic book, and it also had a sound box, just like G2, except this one did have Peter Cullen's voice on it. And if you lived outside of the U.S., sorry, the DVD wasn't included on those. One of the more recent ones was in 2019. This is for Walmart's Vintage G1 line, the first figure released in it, at an exorbitant $50 price point for just the cab and the basic accessories. The benefit here is that it's a completely fresh mold. This is completely redone from the ground up. No mold degradation on this guy whatsoever. Now, those are the American reissues that we're going to talk about for now. There's a few others, but we need to move into Japan now, and this is where we go back to 1985 for the VSX release. The Optimus Prime inside is pretty much a stock standard Optimus Prime. It's just a second release of the figure. More notable is the Megatron it comes packed with, which has blue plastic instead of red, and more dull gray plastic going on instead of the original silver. Just a oddball secondary release between the two leaders. And then came the 1986 Goodbye Convoy, which is another infamous set. This one actually had a weird change in that the translucent plastic on the windows, instead of being like this kind of smoky gray, was changed to blue to better match the animation model. It also came with Red Alert and Mirage, which was an homage to a multi-pack that Convoy had in Diaclone, where the same 2 molds were released alongside that figure. Weird homage to pull, but pull it they did, and it was the last time, obviously, that we got to see Convoy on the shelves in Japan. Until 2000, where the very first reissue of the toy came for the 15th anniversary. First one to get some modified fists as well to help him hold on to his weaponry a little bit better. That's a running variation on the original toy too, but here it kind of got improved further and it became standard. This one also came with a few variants. There was the must-have black repaint, which was one of the earliest times we'd ever seen Optimus Prime repainted in all black. This was about the same year that we got introduced to the concept of Black Convoy. So not a Decepticon yet, doesn't have the teal yet, but the spirit is there. And literally every part of this toy is molded in black plastic. If you see color, it's a sticker or it is tampograph or chrome. It's how much more black can it get? None more black. There's also a lucky draw version of it. Only 25 of these are made, and the only real difference you're going to see here is the fact that the chrome is now gold. And, you know, Lucky Draw loves its gold chrome. Now, we get to move on to this interesting little reissue. This is the Tokubetsu Shio. This is the first reissue that included a Matrix accessory, a die-cast one at that. You can see it also had the blue windshields going for it. You get a sticker. You got a sticker sheet with all these Autobot logos to stick around. You got a mouse pad, interesting, and then you have something very weird, the first reissue of an Action Master toy, and to my knowledge, the only time any Action Master was reissued. And this one does have a modified color scheme to be a unique release, as well as be a little bit more accurate to his source material. It's a very interesting multi-pack. You'll also notice both versions of his canon were included in this one too. Now we go way up to 2011 and we get weird. We have to get weird. So we have to go to Bathing Ape, which is a fashion line in Japan, who got to do some weird designer Transformer repaints from Optimus Prime. They like the MP10 mold as well, but they also did the reissue. So you get the green version of Convoy, which, you know, has a very camo aesthetic to it. You get the gray one for your urban camo. Your camo that includes like a bunch of ape heads hidden around it, by the way. Or you can have your all red one, and I have no idea where it's supposed to hide. But it's about as close to the traditional Optimus as you're going to get out of Bathing Ape. If we move on to 2019, we're going to get to take a look at this, which is a 35th anniversary gold Optimus Prime that was crowdfunded by Takara. There's a whole bunch of bonuses like stars, throwback collectibles and things. And weirdly enough, this thing was fully capable of transforming while never leaving its podium. Unfortunately, this didn't actually get made or released. So I'm only including it just to make sure every iteration is included in this video. But this never actually came out. So the sample you see here, as well as I believe a completely chrome version that was also shown off later, never actually made it out. Less than half of the people they needed backed it. C'est la vie. Let's hop around again. Let's hop around. These are like one-off, oddball kind of reissues. Takara later did its own reissue lines, which did allow us to have more consistent releases. So in 2002, Transformers Collection became a thing, with obviously Optimus Prime being the very first release in it. This one was the first time we got to see an Energon Axe accessory with the G1 Optimus Prime. And along with that, you got all the original accessories, along with a 3-ring binder to include all the sheets and all the info sheets that were going to come with all of the collection series. So you had to get the Optimus Prime just to keep track of all the inserts they got with all the other toys. But you know, that's part of the collecting fun. It's a little bit more interesting than just a card, I think. And we can move on from there as well, because that line was followed by Encore, which brought us another Optimus Prime. This one was a little bit lighter in color, but otherwise was pretty much a reissue of the original Optimus Prime toy from Japan, with only one notable real exception. This is the first time that the Autobot sigils were tampographed onto the shoulders rather than stickered on. Why? Because G1 Prime has a bunch of little nubs on the front of his shoulders, so putting stickers on always made it look really ugly and sloppy. So tampographying them on helps considerably, and it actually makes a much nicer, cleaner look on the shoulders. So they figured out a way. See, now we get into another weird one. Okay, this is the Soshi Raycon set. This is a weird 2-pack. So you got a G1 Optimus Prime. However, it also came packed with the deluxe Dark of the Moon Optimus Prime, and it included a trailer sized for the Dark of the Moon Prime. Now, because they are similar size, the trailer is compatible with G1 Prime. However, it does require this figure to have a remolded hitch with a gap in the middle of its peg. So it can still attach to the G1 trailer, but it can also have this trailer pegged directly into it. Remember when I said that there was some oddities to some of the reissues that I mentioned before? This is the oddity. The hinge, or the hitch from this one ended up on American reissues. It had the cut smokestacks and the longer missiles, making it a weird hybrid release of two different versions of the toy. Weirdness. It's a very bizarre set. I get what they're going for, generational toys packed together, but at the same time, it's an oddball. It's an oddball is what it is. Oh, and that's not the only time. It's the 2011 set, by the way. Let's jump to 2019. And this is going to give us what is essentially the Takara release of the vintage G1 Prime we got here in America. I don't believe there's anything like really different about this, except for the fact it is one of those versions that includes both versions of his blaster. The weird part is that even though it's packed separately, it was sold as a 2-pack set along with the Voyager Bumblebee Optimus Prime. So again, they're doing generational figures sold together. A little bit weird, but hey. It was actually kind of cool to see like a modern toy packed like a vintage G1. So that pretty much takes care of our Optimus Primes. But we do need to extend this because I'm talking about the Optimus Prime mold, which means we also have to talk about Ultra Magnus. Magnus is another one where there's so many variations it's really hard to keep track of, but suffice to say, the main one is that the later releases had a lot of changes that basically cheapened the figure. The inner robot lost almost all of its paint, if not all of it, if memory serves. He lost the rubber tires. They got switched with plastic. He lost the windshields. They were just left open. The parts weren't even made. And the super robot head, barren of paint as well. So for whatever reason, it's literally like the factory just ran a bunch without paint and just sold it that way with just bare plastic, which was weird. Super weird. Like it's just like a super budget version of the toy. But yeah, this is, we know what this is. Essentially, when it comes down to it, it is a powered convoy with a few parts stripped away. We'll talk about those in a minute. Just redone for the American market in a blue and a red color scheme, and looking quite lovely at that. This was the first release in 1986 that you're looking at here. If we jump to 2002, we get to see its American re-release with the same weird safety changes that had to be made. Now, on Primes, the missiles were in the trailer, so it wasn't quite so bad. You could even pretend they were kind of like part of the repair portion of the toy. This is just unmistakably weird looking, to the point where I kind of wish they just removed the springs and didn't bother with the firing missiles, but whatever. This one, again, was reissued in 2002 with the modified trailer hitch. So, yeah, again, a little bit odd. Takara also had their reissue for the 15th anniversary. No noticeable differences for this one. They just basically reran it with a new sticker on the side. So, not a whole lot of special to talk about. However, it did give them reason to do a few repaints that they had not had the chance to do before. So one of them was this. One of the most infamous of Ultra Magnus repaints. One of the most infamous versions of Ultra Magnus, period. This is Shining Magnus from 2000. And there was only 800 of them made. It's an interesting color. Yes. It does look like he's made of frozen urine. We acknowledge this. It's supposed to represent the moment where Magnus was like first bathed in the light of the Matrix. Like it's causing him to energize. Except the Matrix light was blue, not yellow. Making this even weirder. Let's skip ahead to 2001 to get a more familiar paint job on this. So this is the Yoko Kuhen version, or movie preview version. This is literally based on the original preview of the Transformers movie where Ultra Magnus was still painted like Powered Convoy. And that's an important distinction to make because this is not a reissue of Powered Convoy. Aside from the fact that the Diaclone driver is missing, you are also missing Powered Buggy, which is essentially Powered Convoy's replacement for Roller, except as a full-fledged Transformer. And you are also missing an additional piece that allows his chest to become a wheeled vehicle that the helmet could combine with to create like an extra vehicle for those spare parts, which would have been nice because they just kind of float around if otherwise. I kind of wish they'd gone all the way with it, but no, it's just a simple repaint. Still super cool looking. There's only 1,500 of them made, by the way. All right, so now we need to go into the realm of weird trailer retools. This is going to be our final segment for the video, which I know is already going along. Thank you for your patience. So, Pepsi Optimus Prime makes a return with a completely different trailer now, and Optimus Prime going full corporate with his new color scheme. He's replaced an Autobot sigil with a Pepsi logo. His striping has been turned into the Pepsi shape. It's on his legs as well. And then, of course, the trailer. Okay, so the trailer doesn't look like much of a trailer anymore. So the idea behind the trailer is that it can hold a 16-ounce bottle, or it's got a spot for holding 3 individual soda cans, or it holds 12 different caps, bottle caps. Because in Japan, bottle cap figures are a very popular collectible even today. Not a whole lot of not a useful feature for American fans, unfortunately. Aside from just like how corporate Optimus Prime has become, the one advantage here is that it's the first time that the trailer could actually store his fists away underneath. So they actually had a place to go in vehicle mode. Nice of them to finally think of that, so we don't lose like really important parts. I say as I look at my G1 Prime. Now, in Japan, they had a different version of this one as well. He got to keep his long smokestacks. The deco's mostly the same. The only major difference between them is that, one, it was marketed as a completely different character, oddly enough. But you'll also notice that it came with a Pepsi Twist bottle made of cardboard. So, at the very least, his trailer didn't look empty when you bought it. So, I mean, it's nice of them, but then again, a 16-ounce bottle of soda is not exactly going to break the bank. But hey, at least it's a complete package. All right, you want to get weird? Let's get even weirder. Let's get even weirder because we have to go into this. This is the Okay, so this is from 2007. I forgot some names here. The Pepsi Convoy from Takara, 2005. American version, 2007. We are here back in 2007 for this version of Optimus Prime, and yes, even though it's white, it is Optimus Prime or Convoy. So this is Convoy, the iPod speaker variation, where the trailer is a full iPod dock with speakers, which is kind of a super cool thing. It does get dated rapidly, aside from the fact that iPods really aren't much of a thing anymore. Also, I believe it's only made for one specific model, so as soon as that model's done, this integration is done. The cool thing about this is that they actually, for whatever reason on this version, decided to completely retool the head, so it is now smoother and more animation accurate. It's also, oddly enough, on a ball joint, adding articulation to the G1 figure. Kind of cool. Now, this one in stark white, obviously they're not going to let that go. They have to do a G1 colored version. Here, like, I understand what they're going for in the head. It does look a little bit weird now, doesn't it? Like in this shot, that head looks a little bit weird. I'm not sure how I feel about that. But hey, you got extra deco on the speaker mode, at least. And the trailer, I love how the trailer's trying to do this optical illusion to make the stripe look like it's going all the way across, even though there's a giant gap. But they're trying. This is the 2008 release, which also coincided with one produced by a pop band called Exile. Exile Perfect Year 2008. Specifically, love, dreams, happiness. Lots of red plastic, and Optimus Prime wishing he was Rodimus Prime in color scheme. Isn't that a twist? This was exclusive to LDH Shop in Japan, and definitely one of the weirder looking Optimus Primes on this list, which I think makes it an appropriate place to leave it off. So we went over 32 versions of the original G1 Optimus Prime mold, and technically there's actually 34 if you include those 2012 reissues of the previous American reissues, because they are technically different versions with the different parts. This is a prolific mold. Obviously, it's Optimus Prime's first toy. But man, they've figured out just about every way of re-releasing it, and I'm sure they're not done. I am sure, especially since we just got a recast one, they've got plenty of other reissues down the line. We're going to be seeing this mold forever. So for now, this is a complete list, as far as I can tell. And I thank you for watching. I know it's a long one, but hey, it's a lot of toys to go through. It's a long educational lesson, but hey, you have it now. Take it. Enjoy it. And I will see you next time. Guys, I am facing the most powerful enemy any YouTuber can face, the algorithm, and I need your help to defeat him. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Every time you do, we attack that algorithm and we drive it back until it can no longer defeat this channel. Thank you very much.